Welcome to this special collaboration between Power CEOs, the truth behind the business, and AI Today, where we explore the evolving role of artificial intelligence in business and technology. I'm Jen Gaudet, and I'm here with Dr. Alan Badeau. We are your hosts who are diving deep into AI literacy, what every executive, entrepreneur, and technical professional needs to know to leverage AI effectively. Dr. Badeau is a leading AI expert. He's breaking down the realities of AI from business strategy perspective to technical foundations. And we're going to talk about how AI is changing the way we operate, innovate, and compete. But there's still a lot of confusion and misconception about what it can and cannot do. Over the next 4 segments, buckle up. We're going to have a frank conversation about AI literacy, covering everything from strategic AI decision-making in business and implementation challenges to the technical aspects and infrastructure security, all the things that we have to think about that usually we don't like to consider. Whether you're a business leader looking to integrate AI or a technical professional developing AI solutions, this deep dive is going to give you the knowledge to navigate the AI landscape with confidence. Let's get started. Dr. Badeau, AI, it's always seen as either this magic bullet or an overhyped trend. At least that's what I'm seeing. What are some of the biggest misconceptions you've encountered from business leaders with regards to AI recently?
Well, I would say, Jen, and well, first, it's great to be here, excited about doing this show, but really it's around just that there's an easy button for these things. And whether it's deploying it, whether it's using it, whether it's taking your data and integrating it, everybody thinks that it's easy and they underestimate the amount of time and knowledge that you need to be able to do it. I mean, that's fundamentally at the heart of everything else, whether it's training, whether it's the IT, whether it's the software, that really is the big driver.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of times I hear about the magic bullet. They think a lot of executives think we're going to put this in and all humans are not going to need to touch this. But the reality is we always need a human in the loop. So talk to me a little bit about what it means for executives and entrepreneurs to become AI literate so that they understand exactly what it looks like once we have that magic bullet button, that easy button. Like what do we need to know? What is AI literacy and why is it critical in business today?
Yeah, and I would say the first thing that people think when we say AI literate, they think, oh, I need to understand how to program and I need to do all those other things. And that's not it at all. Has nothing to do with that. AI literate just means that you understand the nuances, the changes. You understand the ramifications of doing something too quick. Like we always talk about, you get FOMO, we're gonna miss out. So we got to do something, but we don't know what, but we're gonna do it. And it's those sorts of things that you just basically you have to understand how to take advantage of it. And that's really, at the heart of it. And I know you see the same sort of thing all the time when your folks come to you and they're asking you about these how can we put it in our business. What do you see at the executive level where they're starting to assess AI, but they're really having a hard time finding a fit for it?
Yeah, so before we find a fit, like I think there's a couple of components to AI literacy, right? There's the conceptual understanding. What is AI? How does AI work? And how it impacts our industries in general. And then the next component is kind of the practical application, which is how does AI or the tools, how do they integrate into our business strategies and workflows? Like what does that actually mean and look like? And then I think the third aspect of AI literacy and something that comes up specifically in professional and technical industries is the ethical component, because we're bound by regulation. I'm thinking like financial, legal, medical. We have extra regulations that some of the non-traditional industries don't have. So understanding the risks associated with AI, the biases, and how to make that a responsible, ethical practice, along with the critical thinking before we even press go on what does it look like. I think those are the 3 components of AI literacy that every executive really requires right now. And quite frankly, nobody's talking about it. We're all getting pitched from all of these vendors about all these amazing magic things. But the reality is it's not just about knowing how it works, like you said, on a technical level, but understanding what are its capabilities and limitations,
Yep.
and what are the real world applications? What does that mean for me? So I'm going to just kind of kick it over to you because you know the technical really well. And if you were to break this down into something that's really easy for executives and entrepreneurs to understand, from a conceptual level, and how that practically applies, like, do you have like an explanation or an analogy that works really well there?
Yeah, I would say the easiest thing for executives to think about is to take AI out of the equation and think about the user, think about your customer. What problem are you trying to solve? And then go find the right AI, because AI is changing so fast. I mean, we saw yesterday that Claude, was released, 3.7 was released, and now there's going to be another one released. And we're hearing that, OpenAI, well, they just released the, O.3, which is a new model. These models are changing so quickly that if you get tied to one, you're in trouble, because in 3 weeks you're already, way behind, right? And so you've got to be able to be flexible and adaptable. And so if you focus on the customer first and the problem, then you're developing things that are going to easily fit into that. And that ties into your decision making, that ties into your resources, that ties into your staff and how you're going to staff those folks to make sure that they are AI literate, or maybe you don't need a senior level executive anymore. Maybe you can use a junior level executive. So it really impacts everything.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about what I see from the strategy standpoint. They're like, where everybody wants everything, all the things. Everybody wants to end integrate. And my answer is always, where does it make sense for us to leverage the tool first as an executive? Like, what is going to give us the most either productivity bang for our buck? What is our goal? Are we looking for operational efficiency? If so, what are the processes that are taking up all the time? And do we have everything in place? Can we automate that and have that workflow done, and then expand from there? And I think one of the great misconceptions, and I think it comes down to AI literacy. One of the misconceptions is that, hey, I'm going to put this one thing in and it's going to solve all my problems. But the reality is it's a whole bunch of different solutions that you want to take and formulate for each of your processes. So as someone who develops this and you think about this a lot, what's an easy way for our executives and entrepreneurs to think about, how do I determine what's that best first use case that aligns with my business strategy?
Yeah, we always tell people, start small. That's the easiest thing to do. Something that is going to take 4 to 6 weeks tops in order for you to see that any sort of investment is going to be worth it. You can develop your strategies around that after the fact. You can do a whole bunch of other things, but it's got to be relevant. You've got to have data, and you've got to be able to do it fast. Because if it takes you 6 months to be able to do something, then you've taken too long. It's way too long to do a basic pilot for something like that. And, the call that we had yesterday with a potential, for us, I think you hit a home run like always, when you had them thinking more on not just what I can do internally, but how can I sell that to my customer at the same time? So you've created a new, source of revenue potentially for them. How can you help other people, or even explain that when you start small, you see the returns, but now here's a potential for ROI? What do you tell executives to get them to think bigger than they normally do while starting small?
Well, it's really funny that you asked this, because there's a twofold thing that happens when people are looking at AI from my standpoint. Most entrepreneurs don't like to let go. So they don't like to let go to people, let alone technology. So there's a little mindset shift that has to happen that, hey, look, this process is repetitive. What happens when you free that time? If I freed up 10 hours of your time doing all these low value tasks, what do you do then with that 10 hours? So it's about letting go, but it's also about, wow, I now have 10 hours I didn't have before, and I can go out and generate new revenue. So then from there, I go to, great, if you integrate this and you see these improvements, and now you have that time back, you're able to generate more revenue. What also has happened from an efficiency standpoint and the operating expense standpoint? I've optimized my bottom line, which is what we all care about. Bottom line is the money we keep. It doesn't matter how much we make. What matters is how much we keep.
Yep.
And so it's a mindset shift on two aspects. It's the, I need to be able to let this go, but I have to see the vision of what's possible next. So it's a two-step mindset shift. And it really is about looking at, what are my strategic initiatives? What are my goals for this year? Oh, your goal is to bring on an additional 100 employees and have them trained in your system. And right now you're doing that one-on-one. What can we do to make that faster, more effective, more efficient, free your time? And then you're out sourcing more leads and having those sales conversations that's going to drive revenue. So it really is that 1-2 punch with executives. And so we have only about 15 seconds before we have to break for commercial, but Alan, based off of that and everything we've talked about, if someone is watching, an executive, an entrepreneur is watching this and they want to improve their AI literacy today, where do they start?
Well, the easiest place to start is, you can look internally to see what sort of expertise you have, but more than likely you don't have the expertise you need. So come out and get a consultant. Look to go to these different courses. We have one we're offering April 2nd, where we're going to go through a process and help them understand where they're going to be ready. And so get help. The earlier you get help, the more painless it's going to be along the way.
Absolutely. So you're going to want to stick around because we're going to be back after the break to really dive into what are the challenges? How do we get ready for this AI integration? We'll be right back after these messages.